rolling?
We're rolling.
Okay.
I like your question about what do we do with it today, because I think
I was a kitchen sink question. I threw in a
no,
lot of things.
but
in.
let's talk more about it. I think that's important.
Well, I mean, again, one of my great concerns is that one of my frustrating irony is the sense that, with my sacred texts as well, people somehow feel that it's only legitimate and credible if you take it literally rather than understanding that it was written metaphorically, that in many ways metaphor conveys truth and elements of faith in a much more powerful way than just an empirical or dry historical account. And somehow what was lost along the way, you would think that we would evolve in terms of our understanding and interpretation with modern historicism and a scholarly approach and even scientism. But the notion that we've somehow regressed as a culture, or segments of our culture have regressed, and feel that you can only appreciate the value of a text if it's literal and understand it that way rather than appreciating the beauty of the metaphor. It's hugely frustrating in general, but more dangerous and pernicious when people see that statecraft and politics and a geopolitical understanding of the world should be somehow informed by this in order to ensure that it's fulfilled. I mean, I'm very concerned on many levels with this.
Of course, and I think it has so much to do with the prohibition on studying religion in public schools. I mean, it's worse in Christian communities because there is so little study. At least if you're going to have a bar mitzvah, somebody has to read the Hebrew and study Torah. But Christians, I mean, there's a great anti-intellectualism on the part of many. I mean, not thinking about it is a virtue, and thinking about it is somehow considered an unreligious, anti-religious thing to do, which I don't think at all. I mean, we need some education about this, and there's none practically.
Is that an ongoing theme in Christianity, the notion of not studying texts, or that became so associated with, kind of an antinomian approach to Judaism that it became a virtue, as you said, a virtue over the years not to study the text? I mean, is what you're doing and what the last couple generations of Christian scholars doing so new and distinct from 2,000 years previously of Christian experience?
Well, as you know, people used to study things theologically, but it really wasn't until the Enlightenment and the Radical Enlightenment that they began to read the Bible and say, well, let's look at this historically and literally. Now, why do we have these two accounts of creation juxtaposed in Genesis? What's the provenance of this kind of writing? So that is very new. And the study of the Bible in that way, historically and literally, is only about 100 years old. But I discovered recently that in Islam, you cannot study the Bible that way. If you talk about which sayings in the Quran are said by the Prophet, this can be a capital offense. So that kind of discussion, or which sayings in the Bible did Jesus say, which are added later, I mean, this is something we talk about all the time.
Jefferson was way ahead of his time, and he sought to...
He was, but scholars ask that question a lot, and who wrote these things, and why did John write this way? But that so many people have no background in this. Or if they do, it's a completely religious background. It's not looking at it historically.
I mean, wouldn't that be in terms of the practicalities of it, wouldn't that be a great role for mainstream, particularly Protestant and more forward-looking kind of Catholic organizations and churches to kind of reclaim the mantle of a more thoughtful, scholarly-based biblical study? I mean, I think they're worried about flagging numbers. A lot of these more mainstream faiths. Wouldn't it be just a wonderful counterpoint to other things that are happening in the more fundamentalist evangelical communities, but also to kind of fill the vacuum for what they feel they're lacking? Wouldn't it be? Is that a credible thing to hope for? A movement amongst mainstream Protestants to engage the text?